Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are unpacking an absolutely fascinating life trajectory. We're going to be looking at Henry Martyn. Now, he was an English Anglican priest and a pioneering missionary to India and Persia. We're talking about a man who honestly could have had any comfortable, prestigious life he wanted back in early 19th century England. I mean, he had it all lined up. But instead, he chose a path of radical sacrifice, and it was all driven by this singular, burning passion to bring the scriptures to people in their very own languages. It is just an incredible story of immense intellect colliding with an even greater devotion. Let's dive in.
31. I want you to just think about that number for a second. Henry Martyn's entire life was extinguished at just 31 years of age. And his actual missionary career, the period where he was out there actively traveling, preaching, and translating, that whole stint lasted only about 6 years. Usually, when we talk about these massive, enduring historical legacies, we're looking at decades of steady, slow-building work. But here, we have a guy who is practically a shooting star, brilliant, incredibly fast, and gone way, way too soon.
So, that really begs the question, how much can one person actually achieve in just 31 years on this earth? Keep that paradox right in the back of your mind as we go through this explainer together. Because what Martyn managed to accomplish in that incredibly short, stressful window literally reshaped the entire landscape of Protestant missions in Asia and the Middle East. And honestly, his influence has continued to echo for more than 2 centuries.
Section 1. The Brilliant Scholar. Okay, so to really grasp the weight of this guy's sacrifice, you first have to understand exactly what he walked away from. Born in Truro back in 1781, Martyn was an absolute prodigy. Math, classical languages, you name it, he was a genius from childhood. By 1801, while studying at Cambridge, he achieved the title of Senior Wrangler. Now, if you know anything at all about 19th century Cambridge math exams, you know they were notoriously, intensely brutal. They often lasted for days and were practically designed to just break the students mentally. Surviving them was a feat in itself, but earning Senior Wrangler, that means he took the absolute highest honor in mathematics at the entire university. Winning this was basically a golden ticket. It guaranteed a life of fame, intellectual prestige, wealth, and profound comfort in England. The world was entirely at his fingertip.
But then came a massive pivot. He's holding this academic fame in one hand, right? But then he encounters 2 things that completely change his trajectory. First, he reads the journals of missionary David Brainerd, and Brainerd's intense, sacrificial devotion deeply moves him. Then, he hears the compelling missionary vision of clergyman Charles Simeon. And suddenly, almost overnight, all those academic accolades just felt kind of hollow to him. Martyn became completely, unshakably convinced that dedicating his life to serving Christ was infinitely more important than any academic fame he could achieve at home.
Which brings us to this incredibly raw, famous quote straight from his personal journals, "Now let me burn out for God." Just sit with that phrasing for a second. He wasn't looking for a long, comfortable, lukewarm life. He was literally asking to be consumed entirely by his purpose. Acting on this conviction, in 1803, Martyn was ordained as an Anglican priest, and he accepted an appointment as a chaplain with the British East India Company. Now, this position was highly strategic. It was his ticket in, granting him the access and financial backing he needed to pursue his true passion, which was serving as a cross-cultural missionary in India.
Section 2. Mastery of Languages.
So, when Martyn arrived in India in 1806, he hit the ground running. He fundamentally believed that mastering local languages wasn't just helpful, it was the absolute foundation for effective ministry. And we aren't just talking conversational fluency here, like ordering food at a market. This was highly technical, scholarly translation, and he did it at a superhuman speed. Alongside his regular, exhausting day-to-day duties, he managed to translate the entire New Testament into Urdu. Then he translated it into Persian. And if that wasn't enough, he worked hand-in-hand with local scholars to help produce an Arabic version too. Think about that for a second. No modern software, no internet, no search engines. With just his brain and his books, he systematically opened up God's Word to countless readers across South Asia and the Middle East.
When you compress these milestones into a quick timeline, the pace is staggering. Look at this. 1801, he's sitting at the very top of the academic world. 1803, he's ordained. By 1806, he's arrived in India. By 1811, he's already traveling to Persia. But what's hidden behind these rapid-fire dates is the immense physical toll this took on him. I mean, 19th century overland travel was grueling on a good day, but Martyn was battling terrible, constantly failing health. The brutal climate, the nonstop heavy workload, the exhausting travel by horseback and carriage, it was literally destroying his physical body. Yet somehow, his output never slowed down for a second.
Section 3. Journey to Persia.
So Martyn traveled to Persia in 1811 specifically to seek official approval for his Persian translation of the New Testament. He wanted to ensure it was of the absolute highest literary quality. But once he was there, his approach to the culture was absolutely fascinating. Instead of shouting on street corners or being combative, he engaged in highly complex, deeply respectful theological debates with Muslim scholars. He didn't arrive with a shred of arrogance. Actually, he approached them with humility, rigorous scholarship, and profound respect. And because his Persian was so flawless, so incredibly eloquent, he ended up earning the genuine admiration of the very scholars who vehemently disagreed with his theology. This strategy of mutual respect for truth and language was a real game changer. It was revolutionary for the time.
And you really get a window into what was driving this relentless pace when you read his personal journals. He wrote, "I could not endure existence if Jesus were not glorified." Wow. His writings reveal a man who is deeply devoted to prayer, personal holiness, and just profound compassion for the people around him. He genuinely didn't care about his own comfort. He constantly expressed this deep desire that Christ alone should receive the glory. Even as his physical body was actively breaking down during his time in Persia, his intense inner drive absolutely refused to let him dial back his efforts.
Section 4. Brief Life, Enduring Legacy.
By late 1812, Martyn's health critically failed. He was desperately attempting an agonizing overland journey to return to England for medical treatment, but he didn't make it. He passed away completely alone in Tokat, Turkey, at just 31 years of age. But here's the thing. A life that short can cast a massive shadow. His mere 6 years of active ministry created a ripple effect across history. He fundamentally transformed the framework of Protestant missions in Asia. He proved unequivocally that high-quality, scholarly Bible translation is the essential cornerstone of world evangelization. And maybe, even more impressively, his published journals became pure fuel for the next generation. His story directly inspired heavyweights like Adoniram Judson, William Carey, and Hudson Taylor to launch their own incredible cross-cultural ministries.
I think the ultimate point of his life is captured so beautifully in one of his final quotes. "Whether life be long or short, let it be devoted to God." That right there perfectly encapsulates the core lesson of Henry Martyn's story. We live in a world that so often measures success by longevity, wealth, or racking up cumulative career milestones. But his life argues something totally different. It argues that true faithfulness is measured entirely by obedience to your calling, regardless of how many years you are actually given to walk it out.
We've just looked at a man who took the highest honors his society could possibly offer, the absolute greatest gifts of his towering intellect, and he laid them entirely down for a cause he believed was greater than himself. So looking at your own skills, your own unique opportunities, and the time you have in front of you, what will you dedicate your life to? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this incredible trajectory has given you as much to think about as it has for me. Catch you next time.